All right, how did we start Gracemade? So we started Gracemade. Okay, let me talk about when. So we started Gracemade June 2018, and we started from the house because apparently there was no money to get a venue, so we had to start from the house. I remember, I was hoping, people would show up. Somewhere in my mind, I'm like, what if people don't show up? So that was how we started Grace Made. And after like 2 months, we got our first venue, Durban Hotel. So we had to move out of the house into Durban Hotel. So we started to have prayer meetings at Durban. We called it Refresh. It was basically prayer and word. So that happened in March. So we had the first meeting in the house in January, then in the house February, then March we moved to Durban. I think we had in March and April, and then we said because of cost, let's stop. It used to be Sunday evenings, so we said, you know what, let's just start morning service and all that instead of just wasting resources on the evening Sunday meetings, right? So that was how we just took that courage to start Sunday morning service. So we started the first Sunday service June 3rd, 2018. So basically that was how we started. Have people ever left me or Gracemade before, and how did I feel? Well, people have left before, and honestly, I didn't feel any kind of way because I didn't feel bad because I knew that to the best of my knowledge, I was stewarding what I believe God, has called me to do, caring for them, loving them, praying for them. So I didn't feel bad. I just felt like maybe it was time for them to move on. My wife and I just try to ensure that we have some kind of closure with them so that it's not like they are living out of offense. And also check ourselves to, be sincere with ourselves that we have not done any kind of wrong to them. So we usually engage them on those kind of conversations before they leave. So, and some even left without saying a word. Some left because the church was not comfortable at the time. Jen would go off multiple times in the service. There was no drummer. We didn't have a drummer, even though we had a drum. There was no keyboardist, so a lot of things were not really in place at that time. So I just feel like maybe they were not meant to be with us in the first place. So that I didn't feel bad. I just felt like it was normal for people to come and leave, So I prepared my mind ahead of time. So whether people come, people leave, I'm good as long as I know that I'm doing my best in fulfilling what I believe God has called me to do. Toughest moment as the lead pastor of Gracemade Christian Center. I think the toughest moment was when we were at our former venue before this new one. That was GFK Event Center. So there was something that happened and we had to leave that venue. So we're looking for a venue, within the Ikeja, right? Because they had given us a notice, an ultimatum that we had to leave or vacate the venue in, I think, 3 weeks or so. So we're looking for venue. I remember checking about 18 to 20 halls around Ikeja, but there was really none that was going to fit, as a fit well for us. So so after the 3 weeks elapsed, I had to go and appeal to the owners of the hall that we've not gotten a place. So they told us that they were going to give us another 1 week, and after that they were coming to, take out our load and all that. So that week, I remember calling a friend of mine, Pastor Victor Adigwe, a good friend of mine. So he said, "Oh, there's this place, and all of that, that I should call the pastor who was using that all before, before the all became vacant." So I called Reverend Peter Alabi and asked him a few questions. But what it was for me was that the day we announced that we were going to move to the new place, that was our last day. So the church got to know that we're leaving, on that same day that it was announced. So if we're leaving, it was February 5th, 2023. So our first service at the new place was going to be February 12th. So we announced February 5th, only to say, the next service was going to be at another place. That February 5th service, they had removed all the ACs, they had removed the curtains, the all was literally stripped, of the facilities. There was no restroom, no toilet, nothing. We just had to manage that Sunday so that we could, leave that place that particular Sunday. So we also packed our things, that week to this new place and all of that. So I think for me that was the toughest moment, having to lead the church through that period. Of course, we lost a few members in the process of the transitioning, so it was the toughest moment of my pastoring. All right, my best moment as Gracemade Lead Pastor. Well, I think I've had a number of best moments. I won't call them best, maybe I'll call them moments that were significant for me as a pastor. I think the first that comes to mind was when our church multiplied, in size, in numbers, 3 times within a year. That was 2021. Just watching the church grow from, we started with about 7 people, and, then of course 30, 40 and all that. And just watching that church grow from tens of people to hundreds, thereabouts. I think it's something really significant for me, actually knowing how it started and all of that. So for me, that was really significant, as a pastor. And I think the second one was, I think when we had our first conference, that was last year, Grace Conference, was our first major conference, because that really stretched us as a church, spending, millions of naira to organize the conference. I think it was really striking for me as a pastor, not even knowing that we could pull off, that conference, the conference of that magnitude, and by the way, Grace Conference is still happening this year, but that will be November 30 and December 1. So towards the end of the year. So we're still having Grace Conference, second edition. And also, I think this happens like every now and then, when you see your sons and your daughters, in Christ grow in their walk with God. One who doesn't have a job now has a job, people increasing, in your very highs, who you probably used to support, and then they are now like growing, becoming, strong, men and women. I think, of course, saved souls also, people, who were not born again, join the church, they get born again, they become, workers in ministries. I think that, encapsulates my best and most significant moments, as pastor of Gracemade. Hey, so my message to Gracemade members is that let's keep growing strong. And I want to use this medium to say a very big thank you to all our board of trustees, to all our directors, all our teammates, all our heads of ministries, all our workers and members for staying true, for those who have stayed with us in the last 6 years. It's been a journey of grace and glory. And I just want to say to Gracemade that we should remain strong and steadfast, abiding in God's love, and knowing fully well that the future ahead of us, is greater, bigger, than what we have in the past. There's that we have more grounds to conquer, as a church, and I believe that we'll do great things together. So happy anniversary to us, Gracemade, in 6 years. Love you guys, and I'm always proud and privileged to be your pastor.